Hello and a very warm welcome to all the viewers of 3.0 TV. I am Manoj Dhara. So Binance's recent intention to buy FTX has raised many eyebrows and question marks. And to resolve all the queries, we have invited a special guest who is joining in from Malaysia. Let me introduce you to Mr. Samrat Kishor. He is Regional Head of Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. Samrat sir, welcome on 3.0 TV.
Thank you very much, Manoj, and I appreciate the great work you're doing on educating your viewers.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure having you. So as we speak, the most important topic as of now is Binance, which has shown an intention to buy FTX, and the reason which it has given is on the back of liquidity crunch. So what is your first reaction on this episode? If you can just help our viewers understand what is the intention behind buying FTX.
Sure, Manoj. I think the viewers should know that there was a series of events which led to this intent of buying. And just for perspective, Binance is so far the biggest exchange in the world, and FTX is number 2 by means of volumes and the number of users that they have. So it's number 1 buying number 2, right? And currently the intent is out in the market, and they are carrying out their due diligence. But what led to all this is, so Binance is an investor in FTX. It's an old news. Since 2019, they were investors in FTX, and a lot of their holdings were in FTX tokens, the native tokens of the FTX platform called FTT. And a few days back, CZ, the boss of finance, the Binance, he announced that he's going to liquidate all positions which Binance is holding in those tokens. I think that was something which was, in my opinion, that was like the first domino, right, in the whole domino effect which we are now seeing, where because of CZ and he holds a big position in the industry, and Binance holds a big exposure to a lot of other cryptos as well. So they announced that we are liquidating this, and that was probably the reason why a lot of people started selling. That was number 1. Number 2, which I also see, is CoinDesk pointed some questions at the holdings of Alameda Capital, right? So I think that, and Alameda Capital, as many of the viewers may know or may not know, but it's 100% owned hedge fund by FTX. So it's carrying out research on cryptos. It's making investments, and it has a huge exposure on FTT tokens. A lot of them, actually, most of the FTT exposure that it has is logged. It's in locked tokens. They cannot liquidate it. So the question about their stability was out in the market, that can this firm survive? Can this firm generate returns? Or the tokens that they have, is it legitimate? Because the question is, and nobody knows what the reality behind this is, but the question, the overall fear or risk that people saw was, is FTX as an exchange moving their users' cryptocurrency holdings over to Alameda?
Okay.
Now that gives Alameda a lot of leverage, because you show that you have all these crypto holdings, and then you can go out in the market and start lending on behalf of it, or start calling money and stuff like that. You can do a lot of things, when you have other people's crypto in your accounts or in your control. So that was the biggest fear, I think. So that was factor number 2, which sort of caused this chaos and hence the results that we see now. So I can compare, and Manoj, allow me the liberty of taking an example from Indian perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fraud which was reported a few days back, which was with a brokerage firm called Carvi. So a lot of people, including myself, had accounts with Carvi, and we were buying and selling shares. But eventually it was uncovered that Carvi was using clients' holdings. So there were some accounts. Of course, there are brokerage firms which have, let's say, 100 accounts. I'm just saying, taking an example, 100 accounts. Out of those 100 accounts,
so
for example,
place a collateral, and
maybe,
collateral is actually in the broker's account.
Right. So they 50% may be active traders, but 50% may be very passive, right? People just leaving their shares in the and these are custodial accounts, right? So what they showed was to lenders that these are not their user share, but they are their own shares, right? So if I were to look at this whole episode very objectively from the outside, I would say the biggest problem with custodial wallets is the biggest risk which everybody saw with custodial wallets is now coming to light.
All right.
It's now in a way we are seeing it happen. If at all this is true, if at all FTX move tokens over to Alameda. So that's my view.
Sure. I mean, since we are talking about Binance FTX and the role of Alameda Capital, I want to just ask a follow-up question on that. So roughly around $14 billion exposure it was there, and the 100% unit was having a stake in FTT the FTX. It was holding roughly around over $1.5 billion worth of FTT tokens. There was a stake in Solana. There were roughly around $3.5 billion stake in other cryptocurrencies, which was actually not mentioned. There was a research article which said that the balance sheet is actually looking, difficult to understand. So, is this something which the management of FTX was actually aware of? And there was something which was going on between the Binance and FTX for a long time, because actually Binance was having a broad chunk in FTX. And what do you think this is? What is the trigger point, Samrat? I wanted to understand from where it triggered. So all the articles are mentioning about that report piece which occurred on November 6th, saying that there is something wrong in the balance sheet. And now you and me, we are standing here. I am standing and you are sitting although, but we are trying to understand where this problem started.
Right. No, I think the larger problem is with the nature of this firm. This is Alameda Capital is a crypto hedge fund. So hedge funds in general are covered by a lot of layers. So nobody really has insight on what they're doing and how they're doing it. But over and above that, this is a crypto hedge fund.
Right.
So all the more I would say opaque, right, to the outside world. So all we know is, there are analysts who are talking about it. It may just be grapevine, as I said earlier also. And whatever I'm commenting is purely based on the news articles, the research, and the understanding of the past events that I have. But what I do feel is that there is a high possibility, because that door is always open, right? The cryptos in a custodial wallet scenario, the cryptos all stay with the exchange. And here is a hedge fund which is 100% owned by exchange and obviously needs a lot of leverage while
sure.
So they can potentially move over the customers and cryptos over and include it on their books. It's very easy. It's very easy for them.
Sure.
So saying that it happened is very difficult, but answering to your question, can it happen or what was the trigger? I think it is purely speculation.
All right. Okay. So my next question to you is, so FTX is having lot of investments in other segments as well. So what will happen to FTX NFT marketplace, gaming, and its esports business? Because no one is talking about investments in these segments. And the picture as of now is the due diligence is going on. The DD, as what SBF has already mentioned. So what do you think, Samrat, will be the outlook for the SBF? There are a lot of reports which suggest that is this the end of the SBF?
Okay, yeah, that's a complex question. So let me try and break it into two parts. One is the future outlook on what's going to happen with the investments which have been taken. So
exactly
one thing which we have to give to this guy SBF is he is one man army when it comes to creating and creating such a huge phenomena called FTX. It was a huge success pretty early on. He came into the game and so does CZ, right? So, but this guy was one of the people I used to follow a lot in the way he was doing things earlier. Then coming to the investments that he made, he's definitely supported a lot of people and the companies which have got investments from FTX. Now, if you were to ask me what was the outlook, now the biggest problem with this whole event is that the tokens of FTX have lost 80% of the value almost, right, as we speak. So if the investments were made in the form of those tokens, then the investee companies are in trouble. Then the investee projects are in trouble because those tokens overnight they've lost so much value, right? Unless they were very smart and they converted their investments in time, or they were locked in tokens. You never know, right? Because what goes in these countries is very confidential.
Sure.
So, so my take on this is if the investments were made in US dollars and any other stable coins, etc., then they would all stay, right? They would not. Maybe future tranches will be impacted, right? If the company is in trouble, definitely they will not continue with the investments. But if the investments were made in the same FTT tokens, then yeah, I think they're in trouble. The
Sure.
second part is what will happen to SPM. I think it's a it's a it's an event. I don't see the two getting along very well. They've been teasing each other on Twitter since a while. It's not the first time they're having exchange on Twitter, right? So I think if the acquisition goes through, there are two paths which I see for SBF. One is he could just continue building his US entity because this whole deal is not comprising of the US
Of the
entity
US,
that
which is
needs to
actually
FTX.
just 5% of the total top line
Just 5%.
of the
Right.
FTX group. So, I mean,
Right.
yeah, the follow-up question on that was, I asked you, is this the end of SBF or there is a comeback, with this 5% equity in hand? So, I mean, what do you think will be the outlook for Mr. Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yeah. No, so as I was saying, there are two paths that I personally see for him, and maybe they are very smart people. They will come up with something of their own. But
Sure.
one is definitely to keep building, that US entity and continue doing what they're doing. They are. I mean, the US entities are governed by several laws, and I'm sure they will have a lot of protection around it for both sides. The second way can be because he's already minted a lot of money and he potentially will have exposure to other cryptocurrencies as well. So he may be dipping into that retirement fund which he has already gathered somewhere and maybe doing something else, or may just not do anything for a while, stay low and build something and come out with a big announcements 3 years later. So it's all up in the air right now, Manoj.
Sure. And what's your comment on Binance? I mean, how do you see the Binance side of story?
Well, Binance is currently the godfather of the crypto exchanges, especially after swallowing the number two exchange, I would say.
Yeah, so
I'm not.
number two down, bring him on. Who's
Yeah,
next?
exactly. Well, Coinbase is a different game, right? So they
Yeah,
got
but your
listed.
overall
They are now.
view on Binance and its strategy and strategical move which has actually Binance has made. What is your view on that?
Right. So I don't know till where the strategy goes, because was it a event which was orchestrated? A lot of people are calling it orchestrated event, first announcing things and then going ahead and buying the same company, or the other way around, that CZ may just find himself because his announcement on Twitter was, somebody reached out from FTX and because of the liquidity plans, and now we are investigating if we can buy. So it may be both, right? He may have gotten lucky with this, or he may have actually orchestrated it. Nobody knows. It's hard to comment. But one thing which I know is that the way Binance has grown and the way they are getting licenses, recently they got a license in so many European countries as well. Recently they had a visit in Malaysia also. I happened to be around this person. I would not say I met him in person and had a coffee with him, but I was around CZ in a close circle. So I could figure that they're doing something here, either they're acquiring an exchange or they're getting a license here. But what I'm trying to say is that they are growing with leaps and bounds. I love the way they're growing, and also growing horizontally in the various new markets that they're entering.
Fantastic.
So competition wise, yeah, I think they've wiped out their biggest competition, which was I have a lot of friends, for example, in Singapore who are holding their large holding, who had large holdings in FTX only because Binance does not have a license in Singapore currently. So it's a big move. I'm sure a lot of people will move over to Binance and they will get access to a lot more markets really, really fast now that FTX is not there.
Sure. One last question before we let you go, because the cryptocurrency market actually has not reacted positively to this announcement. There are broader concerns over, since the deal includes FTX.com, and as we speak, as you have already mentioned, that the US business will not be sold. So what will be the outlook on Alameda Capital? That is something, it's a big question mark, and the entire cryptocurrency market has reacted negatively and it is trading 11 to 12% lower. As we speak, Bitcoin has slipped below $18,000 levels, and it has actually touched a low of 17,605 or 10 precisely, and Ethereum is also trading lower. So there is actually a concern of an episode 2 which occurred in May 2022. I'm talking about the Terra Luna collapse which happened, followed by Celsius, Three Arrow Capital, and the other cascading effect which we saw in the cryptocurrency market because of the similar situation which was created then, was the liquidity crisis in Terra Luna. And we saw the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem collapse, and it never recovered. So
in a matter of days,
in a matter of days, and it happened overnight as well. So what is your view on the overall cryptocurrency market situation as of now, Samrat? And since we are talking about bailout, although Binance has agreed, but this is an in-principle approval, and the acquisition has actually not gone through. What is your view on the overall cryptocurrency market? There are chances that this deal will not go through as well. So if this happens, what is the outlook? And if it happens, what is your thoughts and view on the market?
Oh, Manoj, very well articulated question actually. So if I were to ask you, if I were to say, to the viewers that, I see it in two lights. One is definitely the market has not reacted positively. There's a lot of negative sentiment, and that's clearly showing in the decline of all cryptocurrencies right now. It's not one. And Bitcoin even made the yearly low. As you rightly said, so it just clearly shows the negative sentiment in the investors. Robinhood shares fell down actually.
Exactly.
Big time.
Coinbase is also.
Coinbase is also dealing.
Cathie Wood has once again acquired a smaller chunk in. That's what I was also reading a few articles on that.
I see. No, so that's something which is just showing that at least the retail investors are these exchanges are dealing with retail investors. So retail investors are low. The investors in these exchanges, their confidence also is probably taking, and that's why the share prices have gone down. From the overall market perspective, I think a lot of companies and people have exposure to Alameda Capital as well. So definitely, as you're saying, this episode has some similarities to the Terra Luna crash which happened earlier this year. But yeah, I mean, it's yet to be seen, and I also see very cautious announcements by some companies where they're saying, we don't have any exposure towards equity. So don't look at us with low confidence. So for example, Coinbase, I mean, the CEO immediately came out in the news and he said, yeah, we don't have any exposure towards it. So I think people are learning, people are all the entire industry is maturing with the events which happen. This one is, I mean, if this were to happen in the corporate world, definitely tons of laws would kick in and stop all this from happening, or the demonetization, so to say, if I can call it demonetization of the crypto token FTT, loss of 80% value in 24 hours. I think that would not occur so fast if it was in a regulated environment, in a corporate M&A structure. As of now, crypto world is the Wild West. Anything can happen here.
Sure, anything can happen, and definitely we hope that Binance and FTX deal should go through, and this event can see the light of the day. Thank you so much, Samrat, for being a part of this interaction and educating our viewers on the Binance and the FTX deal and the announcement which came on November 8th, 2022. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you, Manoj. We're all watching these events unfold. All the best with the shows.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Yes, bye.
All right, this was Samrat Kishor from Enterprise Ethereum Alliance sharing his view about the Binance FTX deal, which was actually announced on November 8, 2022. That's all there is in his special interview. This is Manoj Dara signing off, but keep watching 3.0 TV for more such interesting updates. Thank you.